Hello there, welcome to Overexplained Puzzles. This is a segment where I over-explain puzzles. Basically, we will dive into the aspects of the puzzle position and then we'll see what direction we should be going to. Without further ado, let's get started. Okay, so in this position, white has a very active position. So let's start with the king and go from the king all the way down to pawn. Uh, so this white king, we can say, is pretty safe. We have two pawns in front. It's slightly unsafe due to the advanced f pawn, but there's no black pieces over here um, to threaten the white king. So we say the king is safe. The white queen is not being used at the moment. It is being blocked in by the rook, otherwise it would have free reign on this diagonal, but maybe the rook can come over here. Okay, so let's look at the white rooks. This rook is undeveloped, not doing anything, so we can count that out. This rook, however, is doing something. It looks like it was in the middle of a rook lift, and then we can go over this way. So that's something. So this rook is going to jump into play very soon, probably. All right, let's go to our bishops. Our bishops control this diagonal and this diagonal. This bishop is controlling the square where the knight is, which sees all of these squares in the black camp. So we could say that this is an advantage. So it's supporting this. So this bishop on the light squares is controlling this diagonal all the way to the black king, the castled black king. This knight is controlling all of these squares in the black camp and controls all of these squares around it. So very cool. We call the Kasparov like to call these kind of knights the octopus knights because it sees in 8 directions from the center of the board. Though I think he was referring to when the knight's on like d6 though, so it'll see all these squares instead. But the idea is the same. So and then this knight is not doing anything. So these two pieces are basically not in the game. We can count them out. Let's say black side, king safety appears saved in a classic castled position. This queen is being blocked in by this rampaging knight. This knight is contesting this knight. This rook is protecting the king, sort of, in a castled position. Maybe there's a way to bump the knight and maybe defend this way, but all in all, it's very passive compared to this rook, which is active. These bishops aren't really doing much. This guy's undeveloped. This guy would be looking at more diagonals if the pieces weren't in the way. And this rook is out of play. Let's look at pawn structures. This pawn structure is very strong for white because all of the play is going this way. It is pointing towards the king's side. This is a Jeremy Silman rule of positioning, I think, where you play according to where the pawns are pointed. The pawns are pointed king side, so we're going to look at the king side. Black pawn structure. We have 3 in front of the king, and then we have our classic French defense / Caro-Kann pawn structure. Very common pawn structure. But white is definitely more active than black for sure. We have 4 active pieces, whereas there's only like 2 active pieces here. So white definitely has a better position. So how do we take advantage of that? Well, white will have to see that all the play is going towards the king side due to pawn pointing technique, and also the pieces are just on good squares attacking these open squares. So the first thing we do is we want to remove this defender, but the knight is in front of the bishop because we want to get here. So white removes an attack, uh, a knight away from the diagonal so that we can start attacking. So now we're going to remove this knight, and you'll see why in a second. This is attacking the rook, so normally this isn't a good trade, but here white has a deadly combination. Zoom, bishop h7. Just check, just doesn't care about this thing, and now we put our last active piece to good use. The fourth and final one to good use. Notice that we traded all of our pieces for a massive attack, and now checkmate is unstoppable. It doesn't matter g6 to prevent queen h8, there is queen h7. I'll just show it to you. And moves like rook e8 don't do anything because queen h8 is checkmate. So, and king to h or g6 is bad too because we just checkmate our king right there by queen h5 or queen g4, which is, or yeah, well, we can do it like this too. So let's go through it again just so that we all understand. White is going to use all of these active pieces to attack the king. So white removes the piece away from these squares. Black recaptures, no choice. Capture, capture to remove this the guard from this pawn, which is the primary attack target. King captures, and then we activate our last piece. Rook h3, king h or g8, queen h5. So we have activated our last piece, our most deadly piece, the queen, and we'll pay the king a royal visit along these squares. So if you enjoyed this first over-explained puzzle, feel free to like and leave a comment and subscribe for more over-explained puzzles. Thanks, and have a great rest of your day.